Hey everyone, welcome to a Dark Souls 2 kind of challenge run that I did. I did this about a year ago, and I had initially intended to edit this down into some sort of different type of video, but I didn't really get far in it because I didn't like where the video was kind of heading. I felt it was too similar to another video I had on my channel of a sort of dagger only run that I did. And I didn't want to just have like a repeat of that kind of thing. And I couldn't really come up with enough ideas to make a bow only run more interesting. Unfortunately, a bow only run of this game is not the most exciting thing to watch. It definitely took some practice and some skill on my part to actually get it right, get some sort of route down, and just practice in general. This run is going to be all bosses. I have done a couple of runs like this before, but I didn't do all bosses. I never went into the DLC at all until this run was being done, actually. So once I actually do get to the DLC, and even some of the other bosses that I do, and I'll mention it when it actually happens, but you'll actually kind of see the first time that I ever faced these bosses with a bow, and that was very interesting. The biggest thing with doing a bow only run is you don't have a whole lot of options in general. But outside of the general options that you do have of which bow you actually want to use, you don't have a whole lot of ways to increase the damage of those bows. You don't have anything but different types of arrows to use. Unfortunately, you can't do resin and things like that. In terms of like infusing a bow with something, like if you were trying to do a mundane bow, you don't get the scaling that you would have from the stats. And if you were to infuse it with like, lightning or magic or something like that, it's not quite as good as just making a +10 bow and putting all of your points into dexterity, basically. And that's the approach that I took with this. We use the short bow until Dragonrider Castle, where I get the Hunter's Black Bow, and that has S scaling, I believe. So all of the points that I put into dexterity will eventually matter a whole lot more than they do when I have the short bow. So that's basically our kind of like MO here. We are taking care of Malin here so that we can get his armor, so that we can get more souls for each kill that we do. And I'm pretty much going to use just the souls that I get from bosses. There are going to be a few areas where I actually do kill a lot of enemies and do get souls from that, but pretty much just going to be using boss souls and the souls we get from defeating bosses and any souls that I happen to find in the world to actually level up and all of that kind of stuff. We actually won't even be taking the short bow to +10 at all. I believe the most that we get on the short bow is +6, and we save all of our chunks and everything else that we get for the actual bow that's going to be doing some damage later in the game to the other bosses. And we're going to start it right off here with going into Dragonrider. Of course, I have 3 arrows, and that's not going to do anything for us here, so we're just going to use gravity to our advantage here. We're going to knock him off the platform. And as you can see, I actually died the first time that I attempted this, because unfortunately he just kind of stepped around me. I didn't roll in time, and ended up just jumping off of the edge and coming back and trying to do it again. I ended up killing this guy because I remember that you could get a Ring of Steel protection from him, and that actually helps out a whole lot with the damage that I'm able to take. So I pretty much keep that equipped through the entire run. And also this gives us a few more souls to go and do the next thing that we want to do, which is upgrade this bow just a little bit. I know that I said it before, but a bow run really is not the most exciting thing to watch. So I pretty much just kept this to a few key things that I did in the run, and just left it to basically just be highlights of me fighting the bosses. I do put every boss fight in the playthrough, and I do put them here in their entirety. There's maybe one or two that I kind of fast forward through, but I do show that I did use the bow throughout the entire boss fight. Not that I feel that it really matters. I don't necessarily see anybody coming in and just being like, oh no, you're lying, you had like a rapier on your sidearm and you just never showed anybody, and use that on the bosses instead. But you know, I think it's important in showing a challenge run that you do to be able to show you know, everything that you did to actually take care of the bosses that you fight. So the last giant is very easy, of course. Last Giant's a very easy boss fight to begin with. What I did was I grabbed the flame arrows from the top of the elevator, and I bought all of the iron arrows that I could from the blacksmith in Majula. And as you can see, we're not really doing much damage to him at all. I don't remember if I had a +1 or +2 or bow at this point in time. I don't think I did. This might just be the base damage of the bow. But he's a really easy boss fight. You just run between his legs, and if you're lucky, he does this, and you can get a few really good shots in on him. The biggest thing with using the short bow is you can get a decent amount of shots off given your stamina bar in the early game. The longbow is probably a little bit better to use. I know it would give me a little bit more damage, but I also don't have access to the longbow at this point. And by the time that I do have access to it, I honestly just didn't feel like it was worth upgrading and using souls to, you know, get that bow to +1 or +2, you know, however I would have done it. I definitely saw it to be more beneficial given the couple of runs that I've done to prepare for the all bosses run, that putting souls into stats was just a little bit more important than switching up the bow every now and then. But that's going to do it for this video. In just a moment, we're going to cheese the pursuer real quick with the ballista, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.